The G20 Leaders Summit in Bali, Indonesia next week. The Russian embassy in Indonesia has informed FM Sergei Lavrov will lead the Russian delegation to the G20. So that's the breaking update that we're getting. Russian president will not go to the G20 Leaders Summit in Bali, Indonesia next week. The Russian embassy in Indonesia has informed. In fact, FM Sergei Lavrov will lead the Russian delegation to the G20. In fact, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will represent Putin at the key gathering of leading economies. In fact, Russian President Vladimir Putin will not attend the G20 Summit of World Leaders in Bali next week. Russian Foreign Minister will lead the Russian delegation at the summit, the first gathering of leaders of the world's biggest economies since Putin launched his war in Ukraine. In fact, Moscow's embassy in Indonesia has informed that Putin's program was still being worked out and the Russian leader could participate in the summit virtually. In fact, the Indonesian government officials has said that Lavrov would represent Putin and the Russian president would join one of the summit's meetings virtually. So that's the update that we are getting, that Russian president will not be attending in fact, will not be going to the G20 Leaders Summit in Bali. We have Srinjoy live with us. Srinjoy, what we are hearing is that Putin will be skipping a G20 Leaders Summit in Bali. This is a crucial summit of global leaders which will be skipped by Putin, is what we are hearing.
Yes, this is very significant considering what is happening in the world right now. And the most important thing, of course, is the Russia-Ukraine war. So Putin does not want to go to Bali, which means Putin, what top G20 country, not be present at Bali. Now the question is this, because this is particularly significant, because India is going to host the G20. If today Putin is not going, we are not coming well. So it's raised a lot of questions. It was one organization that was looking at solving in the world at the highest, that meeting where Putin, President Biden, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, Xi Jinping, President Macron, the P5 leaders, and all the others, the G7 countries, the other two G7 countries, then, of course, India, Brazil, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, all of them would have been there. And they could have sat together and said, okay, this is the way we solve our problems. But clearly, with this is a big setback to the G20. Or is it? That will again have to be seen. But it can be a setback.
Right, Srinjoy, we are having some trouble connecting with your audio. So you're saying that this could be seen as a setback as far as world's biggest economies are concerned. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will lead the Russian delegation at the summit. In fact, it's the first gathering of leaders of the world's biggest economies at the G20 summit since Putin launched his war in Ukraine. A very significant meet which will be skipped by Russian President Vladimir Putin. Thank you, Srinjoy, for joining us with all those updates.